conferences in different countries. Dr. B.K. Ravi was on the scientific committee for the first International Forum on Media and Information Literacy, constituted jointly by UNESCO and University of Fez, Morocco, Africa, where he chaired a session on media and information systems worldwide, critical analysis, and also presented a paper titled Information Literacy and the Theory Out of Reach. Why is he of relevance here? For those of you who don't know, this seminar is the brainchild of Dr. B.K. Ravi. Welcome to the seminar, sir.
Thank you.
I now hand over the spotlight to Dr. B.K. Ravi to please welcome the distinguished speakers and the participants.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Good afternoon, everybody. Greetings from Bangalore University. Bangalore University is organizing the 5th International Science Fiction Conference 2020. This is the 19th annual and 5th International Science Fiction Conference. In the morning, we had the inauguration, and from the Department of Communication, all the 3 days we have organized quite a lot of academic activities. So this is the first technical session we are starting. So today evening by 6 o'clock, we have a presentation on health communication, because we have chosen the concept of science communication. Because I would like to recall in the early 90s, maybe in the year 1991, 92, I think the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, had given some grants to Department of Communication to organize workshop on science communication for journalists. And I think Department of Communication, Bangalore University was one of the first departments in the country which we started quite a lot of organizing quite a lot of workshops on science communication. And later on in different universities, they also started different undergraduate and postgraduate courses in science communication. So we thought that this is an excellent opportunity for us to have an international conference on science communication, because our apprehension is in view of the mega growth of Indian media industry, the commercialization, privatization, and the global domination of Indian media industry. As a communication expert, I'm afraid that the concept of development, the concept of science, the concept of technology, and quite other branches of science has been not given so much prominence that needs to be given by any media in a developing situation. Because in India, we are still a developing country where the scientific temperament and translation of different scientific related messages, it may be medical and health messages, it may be technological messages, or anything of that kind, needs to be translated in the layman's language, and which needs to be communicated through media. So the amalgamation of science related messages and mass media, where exactly we stand. And for this generation, as an academician, the alarming situation, especially in our country, is and it's very unfortunate that the admissions for some of the science courses are going down. It's an alarming situation. So I am worried after 1 decade or 2 decades, where will we find quite a lot of researchers? Where will we find academicians who will train our next generation? So there are quite a lot of issues of that kind. So in spite of all these things and keeping all these things in view, we thought of having an international conference on science education. And today is a very important technical session. In the evening, we have earmarked for health communication, where quite a lot of experts from that field will deliver lectures. And tomorrow afternoon, again, we have a technical session 2, where quite a lot of our research scholars and students will be making their presentation. And again, by 6 o'clock, we wanted to listen to quite a lot of our contributors who have worked in the field of satellite communication, because reporting satellite communication to media is not that easy job. It can be Chandrayaan or INSAT 1B or whatever the case may be. So we have excellent speakers for tomorrow evening. And on the third day, again, we have the session in the afternoon, and we have 2-3 sessions where quite a lot of research scholars throughout the world, they are presenting their proposals. And again, by 6 o'clock, we have organized one session on environmental communication, because environmental communication is also a very important field. So in view of all these things, I think successfully Bangalore University, Department of Communication, we have organized this. And this session I wanted experts who have worked in this field of science communication to tell us how to contribute for media. Because as if you don't contribute, if you don't write, I think the whole message, because as a scientist, as a researcher, you have such an important knowledge which needs to be translated to a layman. So that's why we wanted this technical session, and yeah, so we thought of inviting quite a lot of people, and we decided to invite four excellent researchers and experts in this particular field. So the first one was Mr. A.S. Chandramouli. I was thinking on A.S. Chandramouli and HRK and Sumangala madam. But unfortunately, HRK couldn't join, and Dr. A.S. Chandramouli and myself, I know him since 4 decades. He has trained me in quite a lot of fields, and I think most of the time he had taught me even audience research. And A.S. Chandramouli, he has vast experience with the psychology background. He has a vast experience in All India Radio and Doordarshan, and he is the director of Audience Research Bureau, and where he knows the pulse of the people, and he is an excellent communicator also. On behalf of Department of Communication, Bangalore University, and all my faculty and my students and research scholars, we extend a very warm welcome to Dr. A.S. Chandramouli sir. Hearty welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
Second one is Dr. Sumangala Mamikati, because I know both of them. Mamikati is Srimati Mamikati and Sri Mamikati. And Sumangala Mamikati, she is an international award winner and a great scholar who has worked, I think, after HRK, I think, only because of Sumangala in All India Radio used to have quite a lot of programs based on science. She used to make me write science. I think quite a lot of, for some years, she always used to encourage me to write science, and I used to contribute for Vignan Munade, and basically I belong to All India Radio team, and my today's position, the credit should go to All India Radio. So it's a great honor to have you, madam, on behalf of the Department of Communication and all my colleagues and my students. Extend a very warm welcome. It's a great honor that you have accepted our invitation. Thank you very much. And the third one is Dr. Y.C. Kamala. She is a professor in National College, Bangalore, and she has worked a lot, especially in this field. So in the beginning, I was, apart from R&D Radio, I was thinking of inviting quite a lot of professionals. So I spoke to Kamala madam, and she really agreed, and she has worked quite a lot in this particular field, and I think she has written quite a lot of books also. So on behalf of Department of Communication, Bangalore University, madam, and Dr. Y.C. Kamala, I extend a very warm welcome to you, madam. Thank you. Welcome. And,
thank you, sir.
The next resource person is Srinidhi TG, who is a science and technology communicator. I think he has also worked a lot in this particular field, and I was told that he is an excellent communicator so for science communication is concerned. On behalf of Department of Communication, Bangalore University, we extend a warm welcome to Srinidhi TG, sir. Happy welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And I also extend my heartfelt welcome to my colleagues, Associate Professor Dr. Vincent Juraj, Dr. Shailashri, and Dr. Vasundhara.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Priyadarshini, and all my research scholars, all my students, and research scholars who are working very hard from the last 1 month. I think I should be very grateful to all my colleagues, because from the last 1 or 2 months, we are working very hard to get quite a lot of people from different parts of the globe. So I extend a very warm welcome to all of you, and I also thank quite a lot of our delegates and participants who have registered throughout the country, because the roaring response which we got from different parts of the globe, we're really very happy. And now I think we will listen to our experts, and once again I extend a very warm welcome to all of you. I request all of you to be with us from 7th to 9th of December 2020 for this excellent international conference on science communication. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the welcome address, sir. As Dr. B.K. Ravi just mentioned, science communication is all about bridging the gap between scientists and the general public, and a multifaceted form of communication that spans scientific fields such as hard sciences, physical sciences, technology, health, environmental science, and more. This is a very, very tough job, and yet we find today among us the stalwarts of this field. Today, our first speaker is Ms. Sumangala S. Mumigati. I am really fortunate to introduce her because I started my career with All India Radio as an intern. And that's how my communication career started. So I'm really fortunate to introduce her today. She's worked as program executive in AIR Bangalore. She's an MSc in zoology and she's published over 38 books. And the recent one that's been released is Chandra Shodhane and Mission to Moon. She's got about 1,000 articles to her credit. When we come to the international awards, Best Production, Best Script, Best Narration. These are the awards she's won for the program Farming in the Warming World at Radio Festival of Iran 2010. She's also won the Best Biodiversity Communication Award from International Science of Environment, London 2008. She's also won highest award for science communication, NCSTC, by the Government of India 2008. She's also got a certificate of merit by Akashwani Annual Awards 2013, National Award for the Best Science Program 2016. When it comes to state awards, Best Science Writer Award from Karnataka Academy of Science and Technology, that's for 2011, Environment Journalist Award from Karnataka Government 2008, Environment Award from Karnataka Government 2009. And she's got a number of state awards from Akashwani programs, recognition for national news, the newspaper Hindu as the woman who made the city proud. And she's also got the Best Translation Award for the book Last Wave. In addition to this, she's also presented more than 50 papers at various national and international conferences on environment, global warming, scientific temper, science, and women and science communication. Ma'am, the spotlight is all yours. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Mansi, for such a warm welcome and a nice introduction. I think now I can share my. So, Chetan, I need your help.
It is coming. Screen is shared. We can see.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Professor B.K. Ravi sir, for giving me this opportunity to share my experiences and ideas about science writing for media or science communication with you all. As I'm told, there are students also and those who are doing number of research works in the field, faculty members, and I convey my thanks to all of you for giving me this opportunity to share my experience. Just like science cannot be completed without communicating, similarly, science, any experience is of no use when we cannot communicate it to others. So for the next 20 minutes, I'll be talking about writing science for media or communicating science in various media. So this 5 Whys, W's, W, who, what, why, where, and 1H, how. These are the things that I am dealing with for the next 20 minutes. That is how to write science, who should write science, why we should write, where we should write, when we should write, and what should be the content. As we all know, science is not an easily understandable subject to common public, even to a common man. So naturally, when we want to communicate science, it has to be made very attractive, very interesting, and in a very simple understanding way. Only then the public understanding of a science is said to be successful. As Mark Walport says, science is not finished until it is communicated. Every scientist who works in the laboratory would like to communicate it to the people. Some of the scientists are really very good communicators, whereas some of them do not have time, are not interested in communicating, wherein the role of science writer or science communicators comes. Then who should write this science? We know that science is nothing but a systematic study of natural laws, whether they are physical laws or biological laws. Who have studied these laws or who have understood these natural laws can always write science or communicate science if they are interested. And if they are interested in collecting information, following it up and putting it into a form of an article or a program or a visual. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that the person who has not studied science should not write science. For example, one of our Kannada news daily yesterday carried an article in a magazine part of a Sunday that how to identify a real honey. A person who is doing a honeybee culture himself wrote an article telling that how the original honey tastes, because we know the controversy of the branded honeybee, how it is in the market now, and about the adulterations. Similarly, a farmer who has worked for decades and developed a new variety of a crop can come out with an article with his experience that whatever he has developed. So now we know who can write science. Then why science for media? Why one should write science for media? We know that science is part of our life, from morning toothbrush to night mosquito repellents. We are all using facilities and the luxuries provided by science and technology. So hence, unless we understand science of these things, we cannot use them rightly or judiciously. So anybody, whoever is there, should understand science, and because it is a part of life, if we want to reach people to tell this science, naturally it has to be through media. And we know there is no doubt that science is our future. The present itself is like this, and we can imagine how our future will be with lots of science and technology. And the third one is science is for all, whether it is a urban society or it is a rural society, or if they are in a remotest area of any country, it is for all. We can't say somebody else is away from all scientific facilities. Today, the condition is so that every person is using one or other facility, gadget, or luxury provided by science and technology. So, objective of science communication can be taken into two parts. One is communicating science, and the second one is inculcating scientific temper. When we come to communicating science, a science writer comes here in, because the science happens in the laboratories. We all know that scientists work in the labs or in the fields, and the common man is at the other end. The media in between functions as a bridge for communicating whatever is happening in the lab to the common man. Say, for example, when Professor G. Padmanabhan was working on medicine for malaria, I took the information from his labs to the common man. Similarly, the different scientists of Indian Institute of Science, whether it is a Professor Madhav Gadgil working on documentation of biodiversity, or it is Tupil Venkatesh working on lead adulteration, or Dr. Ullas Karanth working in the Western Ghats and Tiger, all this information can reach a common man when a science writer or a science communicator or a science broadcaster takes it to the common man. Only then we can say the purpose of the science is fulfilled. Always, whenever any scientist works, he works in such a way that it should reach a common man. The result of any scientific work, when it goes to the common man, it is said to be, the purpose is said to be fulfilled. Similarly, when it is communicated to the common man, we often listen people telling they are spending so much of crores of money on our missions, space missions. Why we should spend? Country like India should not spend so much of money. But unless we tell them, because of those, we are communicating, we are the global communicators today, and I can sit in my house and address people at the any place of the country or any place of the world. Such, when we make people to understand, definitely they would appreciate it. When we took information from labs to common man, the common man appreciates the work of the scientist and also starts to love science and technology. As I told you, the second objective is to inculcate scientific temper. Scientific temper is a word coined by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India. Since then, the term is used by the entire world. When we say the superstitions, we think that only our country has superstitions. It's not so. Everywhere in the world, we come across number of superstitions. When we inculcate scientific temper of questioning, whenever we do something, question them first, what to do, why I should do it. When such questions are developed, then people start thinking on it and come to a decision that whether they should follow it or not, where they are going wrong. Because even in using one simple gadget also, they cannot blindly accept it. They should know how actually they have to use it. And whenever anything happens in a nature, for example, very recently in Chennai, a few months back, there were blue waves in the ocean. So number of superstitions were started to create. At that time, I wrote an article, what makes the ocean's waves as blue? It was nothing but an algal bloom. So when we write such things, people will come out of their fear. The first thing of superstitions that they do is they create fear in the minds of a common man. So to develop a public understanding of science, the scientific temper is also very important. They should be receptible. They should know what to do when anything is given to them or anything told to them, whether they should follow it or not. To follow it or not also, they should know to question. This has to be delivered or this has to be written by a science communicator to give it to a common man. It's not an easy job. A real challenge lies here. For quite a long period, since the period of Socrates, we have been experiencing this, but we cannot stop at this point. We should go on continuing this and try to inculcate scientific temper. The first part that I told was about why science writer, who science writer, and what are the communicating. The listener or a reader or a viewer may say, why I should know science? Knowing the facts and principles of science and its application develops a certain understanding of a thing. Then the second one is science should be developed as a social enterprise, communicating science, unless we take it as a passion. Science writer writes it as a passion, only then it can be communicated properly. Here we can go for history and development. When we come see the communicating, science communicating history, our own broadcasting, I can say, when in the beginning, we did very simple programs. A very simple program on coordination between thumb and index finger, or an ant, or on a mountain. But today we are doing program on artificial intelligence also. This means we are gradually developing the knowledge of scientific developments in the listener. So this is the role of a science communicator or a science writer, to develop the intention and interest of a listener or a reader, and relating them to environment. natural artifacts. We should make them to love nature, whether they are mountains, whether it is a river or it is a Western Ghat. When we make them to love the environment, they will slowly try to understand what actually is behind this and what is the science behind this. As I told you, cultivating scientific temper is important for every human being. As for Indian Constitution says, we should have a scientific temperament which helps us to develop a critical thinking and makes us free from fear and prejudice. All these results into concern and care for humanity and environment. Even though I use a word humanity here, now it is not only anthropogenic center development or a science or an environment. Now we have to think of an entire planet, every living organism. Now we know the relationship between a simple organism to common, what we call as a superhuman being. How we are suffering from corona is from a very simple organism that has come out of a wet markets of a China. When we come to know such relationship, we develop concern over all the living organism. And when these things are communicated, the society will be enlightened. This is the main intention of a science writer or a science communicator. Okay, now we'll go for various media, how we can communicate in various media. The first one I'm taking print media, and these points continue with the other media also with some additions. So selection of subject. When we write for a print media, what subject we select is very important. For example, the current aspects are always very attractive. Whatever is happening around us, if an eclipse is taking place, if there is some environmental disturbances, that such things attracts even a common listener. Always we should bear in mind that when we are writing for a print media, it is published in which area, which language, and who are the readers of that print. If we are writing for a daily, then it should be of a different format. If we are writing for a magazines, it should be of a different format. We should bear in mind that how long our article or a write-up will be there in the media, and how to select a subject. As I told you, the current aspects is one thing. Second one is very easily we can select the days. International days are there. Number of international days. For example, 5th December was a World Soil Day. I wrote an article for a Kannada magazine. And 11th December is a World Mountain Day. Yesterday, a newspaper carried my article on mountains. So we can make use of such opportunities and try to develop our try to impart, give the information about the nature, science, or technology. So when we make use of such things, definitely the writer gets an opportunity to write in a science magazine or a daily, and article will be published. Writing is not enough. We should see in such a way that our write-up should be so strong that the editor should take it up to publish it with attractive pictures that also we can give. To who am I writing is also important, and the style of presentation. Every science writer has his own style, his or her own style of presentation. Taking a subject from known to unknown is always an attractive way of presenting science. Suddenly, if we start some galaxy, the reader will not follow it and stop reading. Start from moon, start from star, then he will gradually develop from known to unknown is the methodology. Yeah, this is my favorite media where I did number of experiments, science for radio. The target listener is important. The earlier points are also important. Format of the program is important, and treatment of the subject. Target listener, whether I'm giving science for a children program When I'm giving science for a children program, if I start nuclear physics, it will be hazardous. Nobody will listen to it. If I start from a popcorn, how actually popcorn pops, what is the science behind it? Why ice cream melts when you take it out of a refrigerator? Such things. Why cotton candy is like that? They are all science, nothing but science. And we should present a program in such a way that even though we say, the audio medium people say that enter the heart of a listener through his ears. This should be a principle. Even though it's a mass media, we find the listener takes it as if a presenter is presenting it to himself only, himself or herself individually. So we can address here. Format of the program is also very important. Here I would like to quote one example for the format of the program. When we did a program on biodiversity of Karnataka with Indian Institute of Science, CES, Professor Madhav Gadgil, the mic of All India Radio traveled throughout Karnataka, even to the remotest areas of Karnataka, like the forests of Shishila and all. We collected the information, and I wrote a script in such a way that two travelers are traveling around Karnataka for collecting the information and biodiversity. And the success was to that extent that the data collected by the program was taken as a data for the development of Karnataka state government's strategy and action plan for biodiversity. And after that, the International Institute of Environment Studies of London did a survey of the biodiversity communication and adjudged this communication as the best communication in the world for biodiversity. So when we make it simple, the listener will follow it. The only thing that we should know is it falls on the ear of a listener only once. Reading means he can go back and read it. But here, only once it falls on the ear. So simplicity is the secret of the radio program. When we make it very simple and understandable, people will listen to it. The script has to be written in such a way. Then, science for visual media, very strongest media for communicating science. Many of you might have seen the various science communication being done in the visual channels also. And I saw one separate session or seminar on visual communication of science also, because here we can show, there it is left to imagination, whereas here we can show the thing, and at the same time there is a limitation. We can speak of only what we are showing. Whereas in audio medium, we can take our listener to Mars also. Here we cannot do that. That is a limitation. While writing to any media, we should know what is our limitation and what are the plus points of the media. When we take these things, then definitely the program will become successful. Definitely number of successful programs are there in visual media. I too like them very much. The field recordings that they do, and a very simple explanation to complement the frame. When we write for each frame, the script has to be very simple and it should complement the visual frame. Otherwise, the program will be a failure. Science for digital media. So all these things, whatever we have talked till now, can be experimented here. It can be a write-up, it can be a podcast, it can be a visual small video, and it can be a mixture of all these things. There is a lot of scope for experimentation in visual digital media for explaining or communicating science. I feel it is a best media for communicating science. It takes a very little time and reaches vast population in a short period. But the danger is we have to be very careful about whenever we give a science things in a digital media, what we are telling them. If we give a small wrong information, it may lead to a dangerous situation. So when we give any information, we have to check it, cross-check it, doubly check it, and then give it for write-up, broadcast, telecast, or a digital media. Okay, when we write with all these efforts, when we write something, can we call it as a effective science writing? When can we call it as effective science writing? It should create curiosity and bring change in a reader or a listener. Sometime back when I wrote an article on smoky balls of the fungus, when they burst, they produce a smoke. When it was written, a boy from some remote village came with an explanation that there is one tree in their village which is called as a devil's tree, because often the smoke comes out of that tree and nobody goes near it because it's a dead tree and it's almost a log, dead log. When he read this article, went near it and saw that there were fungal balls inside that dead log. And he brought everybody and showed it. See, this is the situation. There is no devil in it. Such type of change is required. When we broadcast a program on planet Earth, a village near Kolar made their village as a plastic-free one and named it, a village name, as a Bhuyande Bhavishyavande village. So from the title of the program, even today there is a board near that village telling that they have transformed their village into eco-friendly village after listening to the program. So such curiosity should be developed when science communication is done, and it should lead to educated, healthy society. A woman from Coorg stopped selling copper sulfate, what we call as a mailututtu in Canada, and they sell it to kill the fishes in the river. When the copper sulfate is used to drop in the water, the fishes died and started floating on the river. When we told that why fishes are so important, then they stopped selling itself. So such result when come, then we can say our communication or our writing is effective. Every time we cannot expect this. Only a reader reads it and keep it aside. Listener listen to it and switches off the radio. This should not happen. Always we should give in such a way that the person follows the things. Then it adds to the value of life. When they understand the scientific things behind whatever they are practicing, and when they follow those things, then they develop the value is added to them, and it leads to a scientifically developed society. I know I'm running out of time. Sorry. I'll skip. Yes. So we came to know that what is effective science writing. Are there any proven effective science writings? Yes, here there are. Proven power of science writing is here. When Rachel Carlson wrote about the Silent Spring, DDT was banned. The policy decision was taken to ban the DDT, and GMOs, genetically modified organisms, were removed because of the write-ups that came in media, science write-ups that came in media. And this is the photograph of Kudremukh Iron and Ore Factory. If anybody has visited it earlier, now this is the situation. So for the forest has rejuvenated, Western Ghat has rejuvenated. Even the helipad of the Kudremukh Iron and Ore Factory is now covered with forest area. So these are all taken up by the media and started into a people's movement. Chipko movement is also one of such movement which helped for the development of the scientific temper among the people and also saved the forest around them. So such effective science writings are required now. Yet the science writers have to do lot of things. I don't say we have done anything. We have to do lot of things to make people to understand our planet, understand our nature properly, and develop critical thinking, questioning, and practice a healthy life. Now we are just blindly following whatever we come across. For example, if we take a glass buildings of Bangalore, Westerners use the glass building because they are in the cold region to develop a greenhouse gases and develop heat inside. Whereas we being in tropical and subtropical region, build glass houses, increase heat inside and use AC. The entire purpose is reversed. Such ideas has to be changed by the science writers. Responsibility of science writers is more here, and that should be understood and communicated. Number of young students are there, I'm told, listening to this, and because of development of awareness of science and inculcating a scientific temperament, science writer can help to develop a culture of life. Let us construct a culture of science so that it will result into a meaningful society, healthy society, and a friendly society. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, sir.
Very good.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was Ms. Sumangla S. Mumigati. Thank you, ma'am, for the talk, and more importantly, for making science communication look so simple. I guess that comes with decades of experience. Thank you so much for inspiring many to contribute to the field of science communication who may or may not have a science background. I think there were questions which asked, do you need a science background? I think you've highlighted that in your talk, that you don't need one. Thank you for highlighting on how to bring in humanity and science together. Thank you so much, ma'am. With that, we move on to the next speaker for today, and it is my fortune that I'm introducing him for today because he is the man who gave the spin to my career. Shri A.S. Chandramouli, former Joint Director, Doordarshan Audience Cell. He is retired as the Deputy Director, Audience Research and Marketing at Doordarshan Bangalore. He's also the head of unit on and reporting directly to the Director General Doordarshan, New Delhi. He has previously worked as Director in Charge, Audience Research at the Director General Doordarshan, New Delhi, and this involved administrating the audience research units of different kendras in the country. He's also worked as Audience Research Officer from 1985 to 1997 and as Deputy Director, Audience Research from 1997 to 2002 at the All India Radio Bangalore. Now, if I'm going to introduce him, it's going to be pages. So I'm just going to cut short and give you a brief of his achievements. He's won the prestigious Akashvani Annual Award thrice for the Best Audience Research Report in 1996, 1998, and 2000. He's also jury member for selection of programs for state level awards, judged entries for National Akashvani Awards. Evaluation of serial on nature, education, and social forestry. That's the Nisarga Sampada series, a program that concurrently drew the attention of BBC. He's also prepared presentation for all parliamentary committee meetings. He has done several interviews, moderated discussions while at AIR Bangalore. And here is something that most of us don't know. He has also written several radio plays. At Doordarshan, he has worked closely with sponsored and commercial section of the Kendra and provided advice on program content and revenue generation. He's also been responsible for correspondence with various institutions and maintaining public relations. He's also a designated public grievance officer for the Kendra. If I go on, it's going to be on and on. So now I'm going to move the spotlight to Mr. Chandramouli, sir, please.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're on.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ravi. And I think I should start with a confession. I'm just thinking whether I should recuse myself. Having listened to Subangala, I don't know whether I have anything else to add or anything else to contradict.
No, sir, you have guided us. You have guided me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so brilliant. It was so scholarly. I was surprised. In fact, I know her from day one because I was in All India Radio when she came as a transmission executive, science reporter, and I've seen her growth. I'm very happy about her growth. Professionally, she has grown, and not only in All India Radio, but outside also, she has really done. In fact, I have been asked to speak about science communication in television, but I must confess that I had more association with science in All India Radio than television, Doordarshan. My association in All India Radio with science started almost immediately after I joined All India Radio in 1985. Then the science officer, Ashok HR Krishnamurthy, was my very close friend. And I had the fortune of going to all his OBs along with him. Though I belonged to audience research, somehow I was interested in science programs. And he also motivated me that in every time he planned a field visit, he said, Chandramouli, why don't you come? Let us go. See, that is how I also got exposed. And then I must also start from there only because, when I talk of science, I cannot isolate All India Radio from Doordarshan or television. In fact, when Dr. Krishnamurthy wanted to start a series, actually, our Nisarga Sampada, a nature, a 13 episode series on nature education and social forestry, was a tremendous success, and it drew the attention of the nation. In fact, the Director General was personally interested. And I also did the evaluation for the first time in the broadcasting history of All India Radio. I was the first person to evaluate a program and show how the efficacy of a program can result in good things. When I evaluated this Nisarga Sampada and prepared a report and submitted, it drew wide applause, which I had not anticipated. Had not anticipated. The then station director, one Mr. Ramchandra Rao, he motivated me, Chandramouli, you are a man of bright ideas. Why don't you do something to this serial? Then I said, let me do a evaluation survey. I had done epidemiology. In fact, prior to coming to All India Radio, I did a course in public health, and I had the privilege of studying epidemiology, where you study the disease pattern. When I joined All India Radio, I could see there is a pattern of program listening. So I wanted to try whether this really works. When I did that, and when I published that report, it went up to BBC, which I had not really anticipated, which was something like a bolt from the blue. And several articles were also written. An earlier retired DG wrote a big article, Advantages of Small Medium, in Times of India, and he quoted this report extensively. From there, my journey started. And then, encouraged by that, the National Council for Science Communication, NCSTC, yeah, it actually it started a series on science. They wanted to do a serial on science called The Method of Science across all stations of All India Radio. So at that time, I was the first person to do a pilot study and show how communication can be altered, how communication can be refined. In fact, Sumangala Babigatti, she made a reference to that, finger thumb coordination. Yes, it did happen. Actually, that was the first program in that method of science. The very first program in that method of science was finger thumb coordination. Actually, we took a program, we prepared a prototype, and this prototype was taken to a very good high school. So we had taken it to a very good high school in Bangalore city to test whether the content gets communicated. Primarily, this serial was for children between 10 to 14 years. So naturally, the content had to be very easy and it should be easily intelligible. Children should be able to understand. So when we took this program and played back, actually I had designed. I will prepare a questionnaire, give it before the exposure of the program, to see the level of the existing knowledge, whether they had any prior knowledge about these concepts. And then subsequently, after the exposure, I would give the same questionnaire and see whether there is any knowledge difference. So when we did this in a very reputed school in high school in Bangalore, somehow the response was very poor. Not many children could understand that concept, finger thumb coordination and binocular vision. These two concepts were there, but somehow it did not work. Then I told the science officer, this program is not communicating. You have to do something different. This is meant for children. So naturally, he was also not pleased. Actually, even before taking, we had some doubts about the efficacy of that program. In fact, Subangla was, making a reference to that effectiveness of science broadcast. How do we make it effective? Sometimes, important programs, you just do a pilot test, take it to the target group. Suppose it is meant for children, take it to a small group of children, play back the program and see whether, it communicates. Which are the areas they find it difficult to communicate, come back and see whether you can really alter, and just look around and see that if there are some live examples that can be incorporated, and then you refine the program so that the program becomes effective and efficacious. Then we came back and then we discussed, for children, different things, they interest. Stories can be one thing, games can be one thing. So we had to integrate something, something like a story or something like a game, so that the children can really understand. So finally we hit upon an idea of using a pin, paper pin, gund pin, we call it in Kannada, gund pin. So the first thing concept was, you drop a pin on the floor, try to lift the pin. A pin in ಎತ್ತಬೇಕು. You have to lift it without using the thumb. It is very difficult. Sometimes it is not possible at all. Sometimes it is very difficult. So you bring the thumb along with the finger, and then you try to lift it. Easily it comes up. Oh, this is finger thumb coordination. Second thing is, you take a sewing needle and hold it, as far as you can. Try to insert the needle using only one eye. You find it difficult, you open the other eye, you can do it. So we actually hit upon these two, because these things can be found in every household. Every household, you give an interlude and then tell the children, go get a sewing needle, get a thread, and then just be near the radio. And then we incorporated these two, took it to one of the remotest villages in Anekal. When we played back this program, 49 out of 50 children understood, because the concept was made very easy. Why I'm trying to give you this example is, you know, science is a very difficult subject to communicate. So Sivangla made it very easy, but it's very difficult. As it is, we have some kind of a stigma to science. Science, the moment you say science, we think it is mathematics. It is very difficult. It is formula. It is dust and all. But when you break it into very simple logic, it becomes very easy. So this is what science is all about. Science, don't make it very complicated. Try to make it as simple as possible. How do we make it simple as possible? Look around and see whether you can integrate something around us, something that you find in the environment, and then you just try to integrate that. It becomes very easy. This is what we understood in All India Radio. So similarly, we did several things. For example, when we did a series on human evolution, it involved a lot of scientific things. Then we decided that some scientific kits will be developed, because that was also sponsored by NCSTC. They had money to give. So for each program, a separate experiment was actually evolved. A separate experiment was evolved, and the kits were prepared. The kits were given to registered children, and after listening to each program, they could try that. So thereby, science becomes very easy. When it comes to television, radio, like Subangla very clearly said that, you can create anything in radio. You can cover a whole gamut of things in television, radio. But in television, it is not possible. Time is a constraint, and then patience needs to be there. You need a lot of patience. You need a lot of patience. And the four things that one need to remember when you write a science program for television is make it as simple as possible. It has got the demonstration effect. Where visuals speak, don't try to elaborate. Don't try to elaborate. Where visuals speak, allow them to speak for themselves. Just, your narrative should be only supportive. It need not be exhaustive. It should be only supportive. Don't try to explain, because it is redundant. When I'm trying to understand what it is, if you try to give a commentary, then no, it's an aberration. It is an aberration to my perception. So try to be as simple as possible, and try to be uh, as brief as possible. Allow the visuals to speak. This is one golden rule that we need to remember in television production. Like you cannot exceed, your narrative cannot exceed the frame. Suppose the frame, each frame is no, 30 seconds or 40 seconds or 1 minute, and your commentary should end within that 40 seconds. You cannot spill over to the next visual. It looks absurd. This is second thing. Third thing is you need to do a lot of research. For example, you decide to do a program on a feature, a documentary on satellite. Yeah, okay, half an hour you can do it. Yeah. What do you do in that half an hour documentary? What do you want to do? Whether you want to show how a satellite is built, or you want to show how satellite is useful to the mankind. So the priority, you have to choose. I am not interested. See, a common man is not interested in how a satellite is made. What are the different components that are used in a satellite? It is immaterial. I am not bothered about that. When you launch a satellite, when it goes to the space, what is that it is going to do to me? How is it going to help the society? How is it going to help the people? This is what is important. So try to focus more on the efficacy of that particular scientific intervention on society. How is it going to influence the society? How is it going to uh, help the society? This is what is very important. I think 4 years ago, I wrote a script for Doordarshan. It was on a turbo engine. It's a turbo engine. There is one Turbo Gerardin. He has invented a turbine which can create electricity in remotest areas, of different sizes, you can say. If your budget is 10,000, he will fit one, 15,000 fit one. And, depending upon the capacity of that, it can light about 10 houses, 50 houses, 30 houses. So he has been able to help a lot of villagers, in getting the electricity. So I wrote a script for this, I wrote a script. Basically, it is science. It is science, and he shows how the turbine is made, and how it is made of different sizes, and how it is going to help people of different at different levels. Right there, you know, along with science, there was a lot of humanity in that. Like uh, Sumangla said, how people reacted to that, that was more important. Getting electricity was one thing, but how people reacted to that. And when you are driven away from the darkness, when the light is given to you, when you don't have to slog in darkness, the kind of happiness, the pleasure that it brought in that particular community was something much more a science could offer. So this is where I think science communication really works. Like science always goes with humanity, and it's for whom? Media is for whom? Media is for people only. It is for the people, by the people, and to the people only. We do programs for others. They watch programs and they give us a feedback. So this is what like we do social diffusion, we say. media cultivation, we say. What do we do that? How media influences people. This is what we study. Most of the communication theories concentrate on that. How communication affects people, how it influences people, and how it changes people. It has changed people. In fact, when we did Nisarga Sampada, it was done on television also. Thousands of people grew plants in their courtyards. Thousands of people grew plants. For the first time in All India Radio, I got 14,000 letters for each program. That was a record. 14,000 programs for each program. So that was a record. Why? Because in fact, my first mission was to convince my colleagues. At that time, television had become very popular. Radio was becoming a dismal medium. We had to actually enliven radio, and Nisarga Sampada came as a very good example for us. And we could show that if you do programs people really want, people love, they will definitely patronize. It is not the glamour of the visuals that takes away, but it is the content. Content is the master. It is the driver. It is the driver. Content is the driver. It drives the medium. So we were able to demonstrate that even radio, if properly used, if you create good content, can definitely create wonders. And this really paved way for a number of innovations in All India Radio. See, All India Radio, if you just see the history from 1935, even now, I feel that most of the programs, they are very dull. They are still, persistent with. They should change. But television did not do that. When television perceived that the private channels are coming, and Doordarshan perceived that it's going to be a threat to it, and immediately they also started regional channels, and they were able to sort of to fight the competition from the private sector. But now it is beyond Doordarshan, because there are 1,000 channels or even more, and they're all vying with entertainment programs, and entertainment is the priority area, and education and information is taking the back seat. That is very unfortunate. I don't see too many science programs on television. In fact, I was in Delhi, I was in Bangalore, Doordarshan. We hardly did any science program, which is a very vital area. We always concentrate on teleserials, we concentrate on movies, because they yield revenue. So whatever that brings revenue, that is looked at, and whatever that doesn't yield revenue, that is just forbidden. This is a very bad trend in India. But I'm happy that there are exclusive channels like Discovery. You have got Animal Planet, you have got History Channel. When you are watching those programs, the one thing that that strikes you is, as a science communicator, you have to wait. They wait for months and months to get one particular shot. They get one particular shot. You have to get a particular shot. They have to wait for months and months. But until they get it completely and perfectly, they are not going to compromise with the quality. So that is like, where the visuals dominate, there I think you have to have a lot of patience, and you have to be very accurate, and what I should say, the perfection comes only when you get the right visuals. When you don't get the right visuals, you don't get that perfection. And media is something which looks for perfection. It does looks for perfection. Television is not astrology. you know we find all the channels doing programs on astrology, which is atrocious. Where is science inculcating scientific temper? Where is that thing? In fact, if you see the charter, citizens charter, one of the points in that is to inculcate scientific temper, to promote national integration, to promote communal harmony, and to inculcate scientific temper. But where is the scientific temper? There is no scientific temper. We are all falling into Vastu, we are all falling into Jyotishya. Why all this? Because we are not giving what is required to be given. Subangla rightly said, television is a vaster medium. If you write an article in newspaper, hardly 10 lakhs, 10 lakh people may read. But if you do a program on television, millions of people watch. It can change, it can influence the minds. I don't say all the 100 million people who watch, they just change overnight. But if you are able to change at least 100 people, he will create awareness in another 100. Like that, it snowballs. So this is what is required. So television is a very powerful medium that way. Television can do a lot, but I am sorry to say that we have not done much in India. Indian television has not done much for the cause of environment, for the cause of science. Earlier we did. The turning point, it was anchored by Asiruddin Shah and Girish Karnat. Excellent programs. But where did those programs go? Why that was discontinued? Because once Hum Log became a very popular serial culture, it started, and it started bringing a lot of money, lot of revenue to Doordarshan. So the whole concentration, was diverted, but that should not happen. Science is an important thing. It's very important. It is important for the growth of the nation. Now we have seen what happened in the last 9 months, the coronavirus. A simple virus, it has brought the whole world to a standstill. It brought the whole world came to a standstill because of a virus. Now, what is helping this? Science. Every country is fighting hard to come up with a vaccine. It is taking time. Like that, you must always, give priority to science, because science is one way of, achieving national development. It is important for global development. It is important national development. Another thing which I would like to say is, use science for the right cause. Use it for the right cause. Don't use it for the wrong cause. In fact, we saw how television created scare among the people about corona. They called it Mahamari. People were already, scared. We made them more and more, panicky. That panic was not required to be created. All that we needed to do was educate how they should, fight it, and what precautions they should take. Like that, people confined themselves to their own houses. People feared coming out, and a lot of superstitions were created, lot of things were created. But all these things could have been easily fought. It could have been easily overcome if the media, television media, was more responsible. I don't know about radio; they will always do the right thing. I have no complaint about All India Radio. If there is one medium, that is doing the right thing, that is All India Radio. But I have a lot of reservation about the role television played during this pandemic. No, this, at least now, we should try to understand that we have to take the people in the right direction, and we have to speak about how the vaccine is going to come, and how the vaccine is going to be helpful, and how the whole thing can be easily controlled. Like, uh, uh, print is doing sufficiently. Radio, All India Radio, I don't have to say it is doing well. But I have some reservation about the private channels. Private channels, again, are commercially oriented. They don't have a concern for inculcating scientific temper. So radio, for that matter, when you talk of radio and science, it is only All India Radio. I don't think private channels are doing anything. So with that, I think I will end this session. And I'm thankful to Subangla. She gave a lot of input in the beginning itself. I didn't have to go into those things now. Thank you so much, Ravi. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think those were some really beautiful stories. And I guess those stories come in when you have vast amount of work in this field.
At a time when having access to visual medium was still a dream for many, this team here, as Sir said, reached many with simple audio as a mode of communication, developing scientific temper. Should I say, innovation, the name is All India Radio. Thank you so much, sir. That was fantastic talk. I think by talking about your journey in science communication, you've also covered how science communication has changed from television to radio to the media that is today. And also, thank you for urging the media to be responsible enough, especially when it comes to a time such as this pandemic. That was Sri A.S. Chandramouli, former Joint Director, Doordarshan Audience Research Cell. Now, for those of you who are watching us right now and who have friends who are unable to log in, you can please tell them to watch us live on YouTube on B.U.B TV, Bangalore University. Okay, and at this time, I would also like to thank Dr. Shivarna R, Government First Grade College, Shira, Tumkur District, Karnataka, who says it's an excellent session. Thank you so much, sir. With that, we move on to the next speaker for today. That's Srinidhi TG. Here is a brief profile of Mr. Srinidhi. He's a science and technology communicator in Canada, contributing content in multiple formats. He's the author of 2,000 plus articles and 16 books, including a 300-page glossary of IT terms in Kannada. He's been a columnist for leading Kannada periodicals, editor of Kannada science website, egnana.com. I'm going to repeat that. It's ejnana.com since 2007. He's also the founder trustee of Ignana Trust, a non-profit organization working on activities related to science, technology, Kannada, and culture. Translation enthusiast with focus on English Kannada translation. He has translated Kannada's literature in STEM for Pratham Books and Story Weaver. He's also presented papers on many platforms such as India International Science Festival 2018-2019, Kannada Sahitya Sammelana in 2011 and 2020, Alva's Nudi Siri and Fuel Guild Conference in 2016. He's so accomplished in his field that his articles are selected as a part of bachelor's degree textbooks of Bangalore University and many compilations brought out by prestigious institutions such as Kannada Sahitya Parishad and Kannada Development Authority. He has served as editorial consultant for Kanaja, online knowledge portal of Government of Karnataka. Quickly, I'm going to just talk about the several awards and recognition he's received. Global finalist at Falling Wells Engage 2020. He's also been recognized as one of the top 10 young achievers of Karnataka in 2018 by Vijay Karnataka. He's also the recipient of the most outstanding blog in Kannada award for egnana.com in the Indian Blogger Awards 2017. He's also the recipient of Best Author for Technology Award from Karnataka Science and Technology Academy, Government of Karnataka in 2011. So, welcome, sir. The spotlight is all yours.
Thank you very much. I should probably keep my intro document a little shorter when I send it to someone else next time. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for is it only me who's hearing the echo now? Okay, I think it's fixed. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Moderator, can you please see who is
10%?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity today to share some of my views on science communication. Like it always happens, it's really good to be towards the end of the program because the earlier presenters would have covered exhaustively on the topic that is of discussion in any of the programs, I suppose. So today, Sumangala Madam and Chandramouli sir gave us a very good perspectives on science communication on different media. So I would also like to continue along that and share my screen to just give some of my perspectives on how science communicators, how we being the science communicators can work towards simplifying science. So that is the topic of my brief presentation today, simplifying science communication for the common man. thank you, Mansi, for the introduction. So I'll just skip this, but I just need to relate it so in a small way that as part of eJnana.com and eJnana Trust, and also as part of the large group of science communicators we have in Canada, eJnana Trust has been part of many interesting science communication exercises. And we have observed a lot many exercises also that have taken place, which we were probably not really directly involved. So in this presentation, I would like to talk about some of them and see why science communication is interesting with such experiments. Like many things that have happened this year, uh, everything comes back to the issues of 2020, of course, coronavirus, COVID-19, which is the uh, biggest of those. Along with that, also, as a direct or indirect impact of COVID-19, there is not enough space in the print media. Like we have all seen, print media used to give reasonable amount of space for science communication. I will not be covering radio and television because the experts before me have already touched upon that. So I'll be focusing more on the print and web parts. But after the COVID pandemic hit the world hard, we have seen that the newspapers, or in general, the print media has um, drastically reduced the space that was given for science. And at the same time, we are also seeing that science communication needs to be much frequent than like a weekly column or a monthly column or a special supplement that comes out once in a while. And also, it needs to span across disciplines. To add to this, the attention span of our consumers, readers, listeners, is narrowing. And then there is information overload. When I say information overload, social media has been a biggest contributor to this, where we receive a lot of things at an unprecedented speed, where a lot of things are being pushed to us, and it is in many cases really hard to distinguish between what is true and what is not. At that time, the responsibility of science communicators is it becomes much more complicated, where we need to also say what is false in addition to saying what is correct and what does the science fraternity is saying. So how can this be handled? There is no one formula to fix all these issues or address all these challenges, but there are a few examples which would probably be interesting for us to look at. One, I would like to start with the response of Kannada Science Communication Fraternity to the COVID crisis. At the very beginning of COVID-19 lockdown, as we all know, there were lots of new terms being thrown at us every day. And also there were a lot of confusion created in terms of what is the rule, what is the WHO saying, what are the scientists saying, what is right, what is wrong, and all that stuff. So there was an immense need for communicating the facts and quickly. People wouldn't really want to wait for a long period to understand what was going on. So here, I would specifically say I'll specifically quote three examples, two of which are on this slide. The third one, which is not on this slide, is the role some of our science communicators played at the very beginning by giving a background of what is happening. If you would like to do some sort of study a bit later, COVID-19 related information started appearing as early as January of 2020 by in addition to news reports I'm talking, by authentic sources, doctors. Dr. Kiran V.S. was one of them. Doctors started writing about it, and newspapers and magazines and websites started focusing about that. From then, the very popular Kannada podcast series Jana Suddhi, which is being run by Sri Kollegala Sharma, also dedicated many episodes for sharing information on COVID-19. This was in the audio format, and that also helped reach many listeners through WhatsApp. WhatsApp being the biggest channel of misinformation during this time, there were also bits and pieces of authentic information, useful things being spread. Janasuddhi's episodes is one of the examples. The third one, I'm happy that I was also a part of this exercise. This was done in association with Vijay Karnataka, where a group of us science communication enthusiasts, me, Dr. Kiran and Sri Kollegala Sharma, along with the editor of Vijay Karnataka, Sri Hari Prakash Pondimane, we planned a series of bite-sized articles. What do I mean by that is 150 words or less every day on one topic related to COVID-19. This could be some definitions of basic definitions of biology, or even talking about the cybersecurity threats during the COVID-imposed lockdown. We were able to do this for 40 consecutive days, where everything was shut down where we were during the where we were in the lockdown 1.0. We produced 40 articles that were published on newspapers, on the Vijay Karnataka, on Vijay Karnataka's website, and also on ejana.com. So these articles kind of showed us how easy now it is to collaborate, rather than a computer scientist and a doctor and another science communicator working separately. We were able to actually come together, work collaboratively on, we used WhatsApp for this one also. We would discuss every day on what should be the topic for the next day, send a brief write-up. Since it was only 150 words, we were also able to use social media to quickly share it even after it was published. So this, how would we say, there was a question on the impact, right? The impact was not just the feedback that we got to hear from our readers, listeners. Both of these initiatives, Janasuddhi and Karunalji, both were selected as global finalists for the science engagement category this year at the Falling Walls World Science Summit. So this just shows how much of opportunity is there for science communicators. We just need to think, and we just need to experiment a little bit and start implementing those ideas, so that science communication can become much more enjoyable for us, the communicators, and also for the consumers. Like I was saying, how we used social media and WhatsApp as a channel. Now, along with dedicated websites and blogs, science communicators in Kannada have already started, and this kind of gives a direction in terms of what are the new avenues that we could explore as active science communicators, or somebody who is trying to get into the field of science communication in Kannada. So along with dedicated websites and blogs, Facebook and Twitter are also being used as platforms in Kannada. This is very common in English, but in regional languages, this is picking up. And very recently, I think one of the science communication handles in Twitter was making a list and sharing who all are active in terms of regional language science communication. So it is very heartening to see that a lot of regional language science communication initiatives are using the social media also to involve in discussion and spread out their content to a much larger audience. There are ongoing efforts to produce science and technology videos in Kannada. I was involved in one such, where I think we produced about 10-15 videos on information technology. The logo you see on the top right corner of the screen is of Teli YouTube channel, which is dubbing English educational science and technology videos into Kannada, and by that giving a lot of Kannada medium students a good opportunity to and access to world-class content. Pratham Book's Story Weaver is another example where a lot of STEM stories for children are being published under Creative Commons licensing. So along with the illustrations that they do for the stories, along with the content, everything is released under Creative Commons licensing, so that people can be more creative. They can reuse the illustrations. They can improve the stories, or they can create their own versions and share it. And where it is really very important to have the STEM education, which is at the childhood level. Science magazines in Kannada are also being published online. So this started as a add-on. The print magazines were putting their PDF copies on Kannada, on KSTA website, Vijnana Loka is available. In addition, now we are also seeing some new science magazines coming up in the digital-only format. One example is of Kernel from IASC, which produced a Kannada version recently. And also, I think K-Steps has started a science magazine, which has also started very recently. These are being published exclusively online. There's no print version at this time. So that is also an option where we say that, okay, there are not enough magazines in a particular language. I'm talking only about the examples from Kannada, but if you are interested in any other regional language, and if you are seeing the same problem that we see, that there are not enough science magazines, this is an example which is already being explored, and also we are seeing some experiments happening in regional languages as well. And like I said, in the past couple of examples, science communication enthusiasts are coming together, and a lot of us are working together to bring content from one language to another language. One example being the way IASC Connect and Janasuddhi and Ijnana have started to share some of the content. The English content that appears on IASC Connect gets translated and published on Janasuddhi and also on Ijnana. That's one example of collaboration and making sure that the same content gets much more coverage in terms of reaching more and more people. Some of the other logos that you see on this slide are of the websites that are doing a lot of good work in science communication. CPUS, Center for Public Understanding of Science, is publishing a lot of articles by Dr. Chanesh. RM is Research Matters, which is along with English, is also publishing content in Kannada. Now, one more thing that is being considered more seriously is about open access. One of the challenges that people faced during COVID-19 was that there was a lot of content being created, but apart from online, there was no other way to share it with people. So that is where the chronology series that I told about in one of my earlier slides, that was made into an ebook, and it was distributed free of cost on the Google Books platform. Similarly, Dr. Kiran created an ebook called Serendipity about the inventions and innovations in the world of medicine. It was about more than 300, 400 pages in print. If it would have been printed, that was also shared as a open access material for everybody on Google Books and on Internet Archive as well. Similarly, this was probably done. The third one you see here on the screen is a book on Sir C.V. Raman, which was published on Google Books probably much before the other two. So this is also open access, which is made freely available for usage on the Google Books platform. So audiobooks is another thing that is being pursued, even though at this time the audiobooks are mainly focused on the on slightly tilted, I would say, towards the fiction side. But science communication has also used that. Some of the COVID-19 related stories that Janasuddhi podcast created, they were actually made into a free audiobook at the very beginning itself. And that was also another experiment I would like to highlight here, that rather than trying to cater to the same media, we can definitely look at creating new avenues, and all these ebooks, audiobooks, and so on actually give us many more opportunities. The Kannada specific platform like Myline Books is also supporting the publication of new unique content. That is also an addition and a really welcome step in terms of getting more and more opportunities for communicators. I would also like to highlight the Internet Archives project, which is being run by Om Shio Prakash and team here for Canada, where out of copyright books and Creative Commons licensed books are being digitized and made available on the Internet Archives website. They are also doing, I mean, when we say that digitization, a lot of times it stops at scanning the book and making it a PDF. But here, it is also taking care, this project is actually also taking care of going one step further and making the books searchable by using OCR. From print books that are also even now republished as ebooks, we are also seeing books exclusively published for the digital format. Some examples of which you see on the screen. And I think yesterday there was another book called Niramaya by Dr. Kiran, which was released. That is also almost like a coffee table book that is being published, interactive ebook that was being published yesterday and made available free of cost. So when we talk about science communication, this is only to highlight that all sorts of experiments are possible here. And when we are talking about science and technology, we as the communicators can also get into some of these communication experiments and see how things can help us. But even though, we are sort of upbeat in terms of the work that is done, there is a lot more that still needs to be done. Even though we are saying that, okay, we did some articles, another experiment did some audio, another experiment did something else, there is a lot of work in volume as well that needs to be done, and possibly that those can be done only with a institutional sort of a setup rather than individuals spending only their free time and trying to do it. One example of such work is educational material to supplement the school syllabus. So when we are talking about school textbook, if the child who is reading the textbook wants to see what else can he or she learn about the content that is in their textbook, they can actually we can actually create a system where people can come and from their textbook they could be redirected and they can get more information regarding whatever is there in their syllabus. There were a couple of small steps taken during early days of Kanaja portal where such an experiment was attempted. It didn't go much further, but that is an example of what can be done. Similarly, content on the topics of today, what are required today, what we need to prepare our students for, like computational thinking, like coding. Those things can also be created in a very organized manner, in an institutional sort of setup, where we can actually come up with that kind of content as well, rather than the regional language content in those cases being a afterthought. I'm particularly referring to some of the large exercises, university and government level exercises, where the content was first produced in English, everything was done in English, and then they are now trying, or they were trying to bring out transcripts in regional languages. Rather than that, we can also see given the size of demand that we have, given the sheer numbers that we have as Kannada readers and audience, we can actually also think of creating those locally here for consumption by our audience in Kannada here, in Malayalam in Kerala, and in some other language in some other state. More and more content should also come out under Creative Commons licenses so that the content created once can go on platforms such as Wikipedia, and people can go and update as and when they are interested or they have some bandwidth. So this also solves the problem of content getting outdated, and we can probably at least start with the government and government funded organizations where the content that is created under those agencies can go on Creative Commons licenses. Some of it is already done. Like I said, in Wikipedia itself, some of the content is already being put. And also the Internet Archive is also doing a really good job of doing that work. Government and community-led projects, Kannada as an example, or Wikipedia Kannada as another example, they need more backing in terms of money, more backing in terms of people support, more backing in terms of active involvement from the consumers and the creators. When that is done, I'm confident that we don't need to have slides like the one I had in the beginning where we talk about the challenges and problems and stuff like that. And then we can probably become so comfortable that we can always be talking about what is done so far and what can we do next. So with that, I would like to conclude my presentation and thank you again for giving me this opportunity. These are some of the coordinates which we can use to stay in touch. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Mr. Srinidhi. I think that was wonderful. This covered every aspect of use of digital media to respond to crises such as COVID and how science communication became a priority during this time. And also thank you for emphasizing on how format of content, the length of content, in case it's a podcast or a video, how this gains importance in the digital world. And what was wonderful about your talk is the fact that you mentioned on how digital media, even though it's the most popular form of communication right now, should not be explored in isolation. And you also mentioned how offline and online should come together. I think that was really, really wonderful. Thank you so much for that. We have so far spoken about science communication in All India Radio. We have spoken about science communication in Doordarshan and digital media. So what does our next speaker have in line? Well, she brings to you the difference between writing and doing. So far, we have spoken about writing and dissemination of information. But here is our next speaker for today. That's Miss Y.C. Kamala. She has been involved in bringing in science communication into practice. Now, that's really tough because what we've spoken about so far is 50% of the work done. And what she does is the other 50% where we're talking about practicing it. Let me just give you a brief introduction to Ms. Y.C. Kamala. Innovation in science education. She's effectively involved students in learning science through making science films and PPTs, learning astronomy and astrophysics through sky watching sessions, learning dynamics and rocket motion in rocket launching station at SHAR Sriharikota. Another innovation and exciting experience for both students and teachers. Also, as a resource person, she has delivered more than 60 lectures at various national, state level conferences and at schools and colleges. She's also consistently delivered science talks on current topics such as LHC, dark matter, dark energy, gravitational waves, and biometrics at All India Radio, which is amounting to close to about more than 30 or 40 of those. She's also scripted science dramas. She's conducted science quizzes, participated in live discussions on science and society, scientific temper, and the like, both in All India Radio and television. And this has been consistently, she's been doing this for about 2 decades now. She's also been a dean director and convener. She's organized more than 50 conferences, seminars, workshops, rallies for a variety of themes. Some of the highlights being my experience as a young researcher and science rally. She's also been running summer school for 10th grade students from past 19 years. And mind you, this has been rated as 4+ out of 5 by students. That's really tough. With digital media, advent of digital media, a rating and a review like that is wonderful. She's also held many positions like secretary, treasurer, governing council, and executive committee member of number of organizations consistently all along her career. Presently, she's heading as dean Uday Bhanu Center for Higher Studies in Science and Joint Secretary of Bangalore Science Forum. She's actively been involved in learning and production of science films, being part of the JSS Foundation for Science and Society. She has produced more than 20 science multimedia series. She's also scripted dramas for the theme Sustainable Development, and these activities have mostly been for Vigyan Prashar, DST New Delhi. She says she's an amateur trekker. She's trekked in the Himalayas and the Nilgiris, the Western Ghats mountain ranges, and the Sundarbans as a part of the Youth Hostel Association of India. I'm going to quickly talk about the awards that she has received because there's plenty. I'm just going to give you the main ones. She's got the award by Kannada Sahitya Parishad, government body for the cause of Kannada, for writing PhD thesis in Kannada in 2001. She's also been awarded prizes for my design, development, and execution of experiments, posters at national conventions, for the service in the field of education by Bangalore Southwest Rotary. What I am excited about, Associate Professor YC Kamala, is that I also studied in National College, but in Jayanagar. So I'm really happy to introduce you, ma'am. Please, the spotlight is all yours.
Thank you for our wonderful words. So let me thank the organizers and all the participants here for choosing me as one of the panelists or one of the speakers. Today, myself being the last speaker, there will always be a challenge for the last speaker. The one is to retain the audience, the other is to deliver the goods. But for the in one way, it has been easy for me, for the reason from the past 1.5 hours, Madam Sumangala and Mr. Chandramouli, Mr. Srinidhi, they have all spoken wonderfully about science communication. So I would like to take up the structural part of science writing. So the rest of the speakers, they have already given you how exactly the science is to be communicated and why it is to be communicated so much and so forth, about the different medias and other things. So now I go for the structural part. Once we understand the structural part, the application can be done for any media. Either it could be for the newspaper, or it could be for the radio, or it could be for the television, so much and so forth. I start with my first question: do we need science communication? That is my first question. Let me share my PPT first. Okay, and that just it takes a minute because it is a. Okay. Yes. Okay. Science writing for media. Yes. So the very first question is it necessary to write science, especially in vernacular? So to answer this question, let us have a look at the global and Indian picture of science at large. So let us take this picture. This is a prepared slide, and the consolidated and the prepared slide. United Nations has recognized 195 countries on its list. Of this, I am just taken few factors. An overview of Human Development Index, if we take, so it was 2 years old. This one data that I got in the net. The Norway has a Human Development Index of 0.949, being the highest, and per capita is 71,800. Life expectancy is 82.5 years, and literacy rate is not listed in the UNESCO website. Coming to India, okay, the Human Development Index roughly is around 0.624. It may be slightly changed now. And our per capita is hardly 6,900. We stand approximately 150th, 57, maybe 1 or 2 position. Now it is varied. Life expectancy is approximately 69 years, and literacy rate is 74. So this is the global picture and where India stands in the globe. I have collected the resources from various authenticated resources. If we think about science and economy, how much money different countries are spending on science? This is 2015 actual, not the budget, actually how much we have spent. United Nations, that is the United States of America, spends about 2.77% of their gross development proceeds for R&D. China 1.92, Japan 3.41, Germany 3. You just see South Korea, it is 4.04. India, we are spending hardly 0.85. The amount that we spend in US dollars is a little bit higher. It is 7,965 billion US dollars. But when it comes to GDP, it is less, because the population is more, per capita spend will be less. So we are hardly spending. Any developed country is expected to spend around 2.5% and above for the science and technology. That is a rough calculation, statistical calculation. Coming to this picture, this is a very interesting picture that we can see. See, if we just observe the X and Y axis, I am enlarging. On the x-axis, I have scientists and engineers per million people. Per million means 10 lakh. Okay. On the y-axis, we have research and development as a percentage of gross domestic proceeds. See, if you look here, India comes somewhere here. Our spending is, as I have shown earlier, it is 0.85%. The number of scientists and engineers for 10 lakh people is roughly around 2,000 or 3,000. China is roughly around 1,000. If we come to United States, it is 5,000. And the highest one is Finland, where they have more than 7,000 scientists and engineers for 10 lakh population. This graph completely defines, okay, the direct link between science, technology, amount that we spend, and the Human Development Index and growth of a country. Now look at the population distribution. So this is the population distribution graph of the world, and here we have the Indian graph, and India has a larger population density compared to rest of the world. Now let us take the next slide. Okay, now do we need science communication? With all this background, do we need science communication? Yes, we do need science communication. If we need science communication, then why is the next question. How is the another question. So now we will take why should we need science communication? Importance of science communication is to stress. Science communication strengthens connection between science and community. It increases the confidence towards scientific information. It ensures people's right to benefit from advances of science. You as a researchers have also an obligation to communicate our work. It's now considered that scientists must communicate science. It is their duty. Most of the institutions are doing that. Now it comes, how should we communicate? There are different modes of communication. In any writing, scientific jargon should be less, and it should be easily approachable to people. Madam Sumangala and Srinidhi and everybody has given larger details on this aspect, so I'll move on. Now, if at all, if you want to communicate, what are the different methods or modes, structural part? There are 4 basic modes of communication. The one is science literacy model. The other is contextual model. The third is lay expertise model. The fourth is public participation model. So what is meant by each model? We will see. The first model is science literacy model. The science literacy model's goal is to translate scientific information for publics to give citizens the information needed to make decisions in their daily life and gain popular support for science. That means there is a scientific discovery, there is some information from science that has to be communicated to public such that they understand. Here I am not worried about giving a lot of statistics, giving a lot of other scientific jargons. Here I'm just worried about, as earlier speakers have said, make it as simple as possible. See to it, it reaches masses. That is the primary goal. Example for this, I'm giving example for each model. An article on gravitational waves at LIGO website. LIGO is an organization for detecting gravitational waves. They have the scientific literature. LIGO is such a complicated experiment. They have the science for the common man, they have the science for the school children, they have the science for the scientists, and they have for everybody. So when we are writing science for a common man, it is a literacy oriented, and we can see the articles from those things. And we can also see the vernacular articles, some of them can be seen in Kannada also. Next is contextual model. Okay, see, I have taken a particular science concept. Okay, so it could be physics, it could be chemistry, it could be biology, it could be gravitational wave, it could be turmeric, it could be economy, and not economy, environment, and it could be anything. So when I am taking one particular concept, I am expressing that in different contexts. Okay, the turmeric in Indian society is applied in certain aspects, in medicine and culture and other things. The turmeric in certain other culture is used in some other way, but all of them will have a common the scientific aspect. but their application is different. So how a particular concept like turmeric is applied in different concept, that is contextual writing. I am giving you an example. So this is from a book, Herbal Medicine, Biomolecular and Clinical Aspects textbook. See, the 13th chapter deals about the turmeric. Turmeric, the golden spice is the chapter. The chapter deals with the section 13.2 deals with origin, nomenclature, history, cultivation, and other things. 13.3 is composition of turmeric is the pure scientific part of it. Next is consumption and importance of turmeric. Turmeric as a traditional medicine. So this goes as a contextual part. From traditional medicine to modern medicine, how did it convert? That is in vitro studies and in vivo studies of the turmeric. So studies with turmeric oil, and then finally the chapter sums up everything. See what this says, given and taken a particular concept, it can be written in variety of contexts. This is contextual model. The third model is lay expertise model. Under the lay expertise model, knowledge is valued with its own right. The key to the increased concern with public involvement in technology governance is the concept of lay expertise model. So in this model, actually, the public is concerned about, and we should write such that it has an impact on public. So the various articles given as an example in the earlier speakers, will go for one of these fields. So let us give an example for lay expertise model. So let us consider assisted reproductive technology, impact on society and need for surveillance is an article. And in that, the writer deals with the ART, the science. What exactly is the assisted reproductive technology? Demographic descriptions and its requirement in different demographic region, ethical aspects, surveillance required, etc. It has a direct impact on society. The lay expertise of a common man is achieved through this article. So assisted reproduction technology is a concept. It has been written in such a way, so it has an impact on society and each one can relate for that. So likewise, we can also write for biotechnology related articles and biotechnology related concepts, brinjal and other issues that are in society. Lay expertise model can be adopted. The last one, the public participation model. This is a very important one. The public participation model attempts to make scientific process more interactive and encourages public debate surrounding scientific issues. It should encourage scientific debates among the public, among the scientists, among the people. It should generate or ignite scientific discussion in society. That is where you are involving. In this particular model, there are plenty of other varieties. The one is the projects, wherein you are asking the questions for the public and you are collecting the answers, survey answers. The surveys are conducted every day in newspapers, channels, televisions about whether you want this film actor or not, whether you want this or not, like that. Similarly, whether you want a scientific project, is this science concept right or wrong? Regarding that, we can ask for the surveys, or we can write article and invite comments on that. So in the public participation model, I would like to give few examples. The model involves collecting data from public towards a scientific process, analyzing them and involving the information given by the public in further processes. So if we see the scientist view on science and society, few articles I have given as an example, especially if we see the websites of LEGO or ESC or whatever, there is a lot of public involvement. You can give your opinion. That opinion will be valued in the next process that they are going to consider. Many science competitions are conducted. I mean, design and development of the experiment. Example, Olympiad competitions. This gives an opportunity to youngsters to involve in creating new ideas for science. The literature regarding this can be made. The students will make the literature. They are allowed to participate in creating science. This is the fourth model. Now, whatever is the model, whether I'm writing a lay expertise model or a literacy model or a participation model, the story should have. When I take a particular concept and then I want to write certain thing about science, the story should have a purpose, focus, style, sourcing, audience, and last but not the least, the science. Now I would like to explain this with an example. What is the example I would like to take? Recently in 2015-16, we had a very big discovery in the history of science, that is the gravitational waves. Einstein's theory of relativity was proved once again by detection of gravitational waves. The detection was done in LIGO of America. In 2 places it has been detected. It is a very such a difficult subject. It appears for a non-science person, it appears as a very difficult subject. But nonetheless, it must be communicated to common man. Okay, it must be communicated to common man. It must be communicated to science students. It must be communicated to scientists, and it must be participatory as well. So now let us assume that I am writing a very literacy model article. When I'm writing literacy model article, what is the purpose of my article? So why this story is to be written is the purpose. Okay, why the story is to be written? It is one of the very big discovery of the human kind or the human civilization. It should be known to every individual. So that is my main purpose. Therefore, it should be as simple as possible. What should be the focus? So what is the focal point of the story? The focal point of the story is to see to it the grandeur of the gravitational wave is appreciated by every common person on this earth. That is the focal point. So irrespective of the language, every individual needs to be appreciated that particular concept. Third, style. How the story is written. Okay, what is the style? It should be very simple, very simple. And again, when it comes to style, it is contextual. When I'm writing in Kannada, I need to take examples of the local situation, and then I should, from known to unknown, I should slowly take them from the known examples. ಮಜ್ಜಿಗೆ ಕುಡಿಯೋ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನಾನು ತಗೊಳ್ಬಹುದು, ನೀರಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲ್ಲು ಹಾಕೋ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನ ತಗೊಳ್ಬಹುದು, ವೇವ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಅದೇ ನಾನು ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ನ್ ಕಲ್ಚರಿಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಆ ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ವೇವ್ಸ್ ನ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಆ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಇಂದ ನಿಧಾನವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ದಟ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್. Next, sourcing. What information and which voices to be included? What information I have to include? That is a very interesting topic. So information I must always collect from authentic sources. Which are the authentic sources? The first is the LIGO, the organization which detected the gravitational wave is the authentic organization. Whatever the information available in their website, or if we know the scientist, we can interact with the scientist. And last but not the least, the gravitational wave announcement was made in a press conference. The press conference was open for all the public, and those videos are available in the YouTube. They are my first source of information. I should tap on that first source of information. Which voices? Which voices means who discovered, who was the leader of the project, what he says, that should be identified when I am writing the article. Who is the audience? Who the story is written, and what role audience play in the story? Again, this is contextual. When I am writing the literacy model, when I am writing for the common people, my audience is everyone. So I should suitably select my content and other things such that I could reach them. Okay. Last but not the least, how science should be portrayed in the story. This is a very difficult part. This is a very difficult part. But if we are passionate about science writing, it automatically you feel you will enjoy writing the science and how the science should be portrayed. With respect to the same example, gravitational wave, how the science story should be portrayed. I said, let us take simple examples of what is a wave and what is a gravitation and what is the gravitational wave. So I need to make linear connection without any scientific jargon or without any equations and other things. This is the storyline, and this storyline has the organizations in it, the scientists' view in it, and so much and so forth. All the ingredients that can make the story attractive. This is the structure. These 6 points can be applied to any topic that you want to write and for any style that you want to adopt. Next. Okay. What are the different forums in which you can portray your story? You can write an article, you can write a drama, poem, feature, story, video, podcast, and any other creative mode that you want to. Whatever may be the forum that we want to write, we need to adopt these 6 structural part. It makes our job easier. Probably the sourcing can come first and focus can come next, or each individual has their own style. However, the story should be interesting. All the fundamental facts have to be communicated to the public. Next, some important science communicating journals: Nature, Scientific American, New Scientist, Popular Science, websites of ISRO, NASA, ESA, LIGO, CERN, Fermilab, and many more. There was a question in the previous session, if I am not a science graduate, can I communicate science? Definitely you can. In earlier days, I could say it was a little bit difficult, but today it is not at all difficult. Anything you want, any scientific concept you want, the material is available in the internet from authentic sources. The simple version is available. The difficult version is also available. You can communicate with the scientists through the email and other things. It is a possibility. Many science writers or the reporters in leading the dailies of Karnataka are from the arts background. They maintain a good rapport with the lot of science people in the city, and they are making really wonderful stories. So this is what I want to say. Prajavani, Vijayavani, there are all quite a good number of science writers. Next, coming into vernacular. At this point, I would like to stress, do we need to write in vernacular? Yes, we do. Why is the next question. The Karnataka population, I take example with respect to Karnataka, the same can be applied to other. The Karnataka population is around 7 crores. Let me say 30% of the people are not Kannadigas. That is right away, 7 3s are 21, 2.1 crore. But still we are left out with 5 crore, 4.8 or 5 crore. In this 4.8 or 5 crore, as we know, demographic picture around the population picture, 60% is young generation. Okay, 60% is young generation, and remaining 40% is the older generation. In this 60% of the young generation, majority of them are studying in vernacular. If we do not communicate science in vernacular, we are not including majority of the population in vernacular. The science becomes elite's choice, which should not be. Entire population should participate in science communication. Now let us do SWOT analysis for science writing, because many of you are want to become science journalists, and it is very green area actually. So what is the strength in the science communication? Science is continuously progressing subject, hence every day fresh and quality information is available to make stories. What is the weakness? Writing science either for public or scientific paper requires a special skills. Of course, it is not very difficult. It comes through practice. Opportunities, plenty. Newspapers, television, scientific institutions, science content writing for schools and colleges, making PPT for professionals, making videos for professionals, and many more. Threats. Science news has a low shelf life. What is a fact today become obsolete in within few days, or maybe within few hours sometimes. Doesn't matter. So science news has a very low shelf life. One needs to be continuously learning if you want to become science journalist. It is true for any other journalist as well. Digital age demands learning new skills along with updating in chosen field or the subject. It is not enough if I just learn science. I need to be completely updated in the digital world in order to communicate my story at a very quick instance, much before someone else is publishing. So this is not just the competition of today, it is a competition since the ages. To give an example of C.V. Raman, when C.V. Raman discovered Raman effect in 1928, he communicates that to the nature through telegraph. The telegraph is a very, you have a line and you have a dot, through that alphabets is communicated. He communicates a small para to the nature paper, and then elaborate paper is written in Indian journal. If he would have not communicated that, he would have missed Nobel Prize, because Russians and others were also doing same kind of science at that time. So communication has a greater impact in recognition. You journalists, you have a role to play in making the country proud actually. Now, science writing in vernacular. It is very important. I explained why aspect of science communication, and I explained why it is very important. How to bridge the gap. We need to be committed. We need to motivate. Who can science communicate? Anyone who has an interest in science can communicate science. We need to train people to communicate science. Every science student, every student rather, can understand and communicate science in a limited way, if not in a big way, surrounding his own people. What science communication can bring about in society? What can the impact it can make? Science communication leads to scientific literacy in society. This helps to involve people in the process of science policy making and in explaining scientific projects of the country to the people. See, when I make a science project, either the Kaiga project or some other project, what we do strikes. But energy is also a requirement. If we know how to overcome those problems, I think we involve better. It does not mean all the strikes are wrong. What I am saying, see, some strikes are with the purpose, some strikes we need to understand things. We need to organize that science in a different way. If we are scientifically literate, we can think in that direction. Therefore, it is a necessity for the society to be scientifically literate. Last but not the least, science is a fulcrum of socio-economic change. This is the title of a lecture given by Mr. K. Vijayaraghavan. He is the scientific advisor to Prime Minister of India. The lecture is available in this YouTube link. Science communication is a nation-building activity. Let us participate in it. You, being a science communicator, if you take up science communication, you are doing your profession, you are also building nation. These are the acknowledgements, various acknowledgements. I have sources that I have used. And thank you, dear, all the participants for joining this lecture in this last session. Now, I would like to, as the organizers have asked me, to consolidate. Today we had a very interesting talks. In the beginning, Professor Ravi has welcomed us with kind words, followed by Sumangala Madam has given the whole gamut of science communication from our experience. It was a very wonderful talk. Mr. Chandramouli sir has said how exactly the science communication is implemented in All India Radio. What an executive can do a role in science communication that was brought about. Mr. Srinidhi has explained the various science communication portals and how it can make impact, and what are the different types of science communication available in vernacular as well. And the most importantly, the audio books, they are available in audiobooks, they are available for the general public. So this particular session, along with my presentation, I am also enriched with all the speakers' wonderful knowledge of about the science communication. Now, I thank one and all for listening to my talk. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ravi, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for those shocking but not surprising statistics. It's amazing to see you emphasize on vernacular languages backed by so much of statistics. I don't think we've seen any other emphasize on engagement and interaction so much. It's lovely to see you how you've guided all these members who want to take up science communication by giving them the various models. I think the big takeaway from your session is how it's not just enough to write or present facts, but how you need to keep it engaging and interactive. The passion, the commitment, and the powerful talks by all the speakers have advocated the storytelling model today, and this has been a wonderful session. I now request Dr. B.K. Ravi, Professor and Chairperson, Department of Communication, Bangalore University, Gyan Bharati Campus, to deliver the vote of thanks, please.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. And according to me, this is one of the most excellent sessions we had. Our technical session 1, writing science communication. On behalf of the Department of Communication, Bangalore University, I'm grateful to Sumangala Esmamikati, Program Executive for India Radio. Thank you very much, madam. In spite of a busy schedule, you made it. We're very grateful to you. It was an excellent presentation. And I think the coming days, again, we will invite you for some other conference, because we want to have an exclusive independent conference on science communication by our department. We are very grateful to you, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I also thank Shri S. Chandramouli, the Joint Director of Audience Research, Doordarshan. Sir, your presentation was excellent. On behalf of the Department of Communication, Bangalore University, I'm very grateful to you, sir. Thank you. And Dr. Y.C. Kamala, I think she made an excellent presentation. And madam, I think we may have to invite you for all our media sessions, because as you know, we have the concept of media literacy, and the amalgamation of scientific literacy with media literacy needs to be done from most of our media departments. It was an excellent and fantastic presentation on your side, and on behalf of the Department of Communication, Bangalore University, I'm grateful to you, madam. Thank you very much. And Srinidhi TG also made an excellent presentation. I think he's also working hard to popularize science through communication. Srinidhi, on behalf of Department of Communication, Bangalore University, we're very grateful to you. Thank you very much. And
Thank you, sir.
I'm grateful to my colleagues, Dr. N. Sanjuraj, Associate Professor, Dr. Shaileshri, Associate Professor, Dr. Vasindra, Assistant Professor, and all my research scholars, my students, participants, delegates, and members of the media, and all the invitees, including Manasi, for our excellent comparing. And I'm thanks for all of you. I thank all the people who have worked very hard on behalf of the Department of Communication, Bangalore University. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you, Prashant and Vinod, for quickly updating me on this. We're sorry we couldn't take the questions that's been there as a part of the chat. So what we can do is you can just email your questions to Chairman DOC B.U.B. That's Chairman, Department of Communication, Bangalore University B. CHAIRMAN DOC BUB @gmail.com. And trust me, these questions will be answered. Thank you so much, folks. Stay in touch with us for the second session at 6 p.m. today. Thank you for watching and interacting.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
ಕೇಳಿದ್ರ ಸರ್